sorry, a lot of time. Geneva, Carjack's Fletcher Road. Welcome to the very last monthly meeting with Newry District Council, because they're all fighting to hold back the tears. Given the prominence of tonight's event and the fact that it's the last meeting of Newry District Council, and I'm aware of the significance of that, I will allow councillors, when we get through council business and the business of the night is finished, to make a few parting comments if they deem necessary. So with that in mind, sure, we'll kick it off over to Eddie.
Okay, Chairman, the minutes of the monthly meeting held on Monday the 2nd of March, those were seconded. Seconded, okay, Chairman. Any matters arising, Chairman? Okay, item number 2, Chairman, minutes of District Development Committee meeting held on Monday the 16th. Proposer? Councillor Feely, seconded, Councillor Donnelly. Chairman, we normally take items 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 together, Chairman. Could there somebody to propose the second, Chairman? And second, Councillor Hurley. Chairman, item number 9, Chairman, is a report of the Audit Committee meeting held on Monday the 16th of March. Again, a copy of that was proposed. Councillor Casey, second, Councillor Murphy. The update on the year end, could I ask Brenda maybe just update us on the year end, Chairman?
Yes, this is correspondence we've received from the DFP. It's an in-year forecast on the outcome of the rates for the year. And at this point in time, this is the final figure, this is a provisional figure. They're projecting a favourable outcome of 459,000 for the year.
Okay, Chairman. So obviously, Chairman, any surplus that comes in for the council will be passed to the Super Council, Chairman, but that is the good news, Chairman, for the council.
Chairman, can I just say, all the fighting all year trying to get things like swing parking on all that, not for any money, and then we come to the night and there's $500,000 there. I know you've done your best, Eddie, and we had to be stringent throughout the year, but it is quite frustrating, I have to say.
Chairman, you've got to understand that this is from DFP. We are not told this until the latter end of March. We did go back to them to look for the accuracy in that. So we have no say on that. We have no information that is supplied until March, which means you don't have the time anyway to spend it. But I have to say, Chair, as well, that the Council did exceptionally well at the end of the year.
I know with
a large number of schemes that did have it. Okay, Chairman. Sorry, Michael.
Just wondering, do we know how Down's District Council?
No, I don't know at this stage, Chairman. I did send an email to Ken today asking him for the update, Chairman. So as soon as we get it, we'll arrange a second. Okay. Chairman, item number 11, Chairman, is a verbal report from John Farrell on the Health Building Service NIE partnership project for fly tipping.
Chair, as you remember, some time ago, we did receive in writing from NIA that the fact that they proposed that the money that they would give to the council in relation to lifting of the waste diesel sludge was most likely going to finish. Now, as we received a lot of bad information in relation to funding cuts, that they have found some money and therefore they have notified us that as of yet they will continue to lift that until budgets run out, but at the minute they are going to continue to lift that. I am aware, however, that they are proposing, and maybe it's already in, that the new marker certainly was to be in by April, and I think it may already be in, but that may have effect, and we'll have to report to the new council on that as well.
Mr. Chairman.
Lord John.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is indeed good news, because the Chief Executive told us a couple of months ago that from a certain date that it was going to revert back to local authorities, that they would have to meet the price of this awful situation. But I'm delighted to hear tonight that money has been found, and for the next what, 6, 12 months, 2 years, it'll be paid for by that particular organisation. So that's good news for the ratepayers.
Very much so. Councillor Hardy, sorry.
Aye, Chairman. Thanks. It is good that they'll continue to lift it there. But we did back on 3 or 4 weeks ago, around the time John was talking about when they talked about no funding, they did let a lot of these tubes lay and leak right through the countryside. There were some of them leaking on the side of the roads for over 3 weeks. You know, but the environmental agency they're obliged to protect the countryside, and they failed badly in this, to let those leak through the countryside without doing anything about it. But I said it was over 3 weeks some of these lay there before they were lifted, you know, and it never should have happened.
Councillor Powers?
I'm just on the special flight tipping. It's ironic that all the money that was spent there over the years, within 500 metres of one of the best amenity sites that there is in the 26 councils at Chapel Road. I had to get onto the council today for a remove flight tipping at the junction of Ballyhone Road and Courtney Hill, just literally 500 metres from it. And I think that, I know John would be frustrated as some of the members here, that over the years, with all the money that we're spent and the money that's coming in, there's still people within the public who will not avail of those excellent amenity sites. So I would, on this the last meeting of the council, implore on the people for the use those amenity sites, because it costs thousands, if not $500,000, I think it's the last one that we built in Cross McLean. So I think that those facilities should be used properly.
Okay, moving on, Chairman, to item number 12, which is a report of the meeting about the stroke unit at Daisy Hill in the hospital held on Thursday the 26th. Chairman, somebody to propose? Councillor Feely.
We have a number of people indicating.
Second for that? Second for that. Councillor Burns.
Councillor Larkin, thank you.
I'd just like to say a few words. I'd like to say how proud I am of the people of Newry Morning Gullion who came out in their thousands to support Daisy Hill and the retention of services there. It was an unbelievable sight to stand at the top of Monaghan Row, looking down Monaghan Street and seeing the crowds right back to the mall. If ever this town and area, this council area, spoke with one voice, it was on that day. And I'd just like to commend the officers of the council who organised it, and hopefully the Minister will be listening to the people of this area.
Here. Thanks, Councillor Feely.
Yeah, Chair, I was quite disappointed by Saturday's platform, Chairman. I think the speakers that were targeted had never turned up, and I think we should have been informed. But anyway, the fact that the council took on the function of opposing the transfer of the stroke unit to Craigavon, I think that their decision and the decision of the council not to put politicians on the platform was shown to be a very stupid one by both councillors and staff. It was very obvious that those who were on it had very little knowledge of what was going on and of the background knowledge, and or if we had councillors from each of the political parties, the detail would have been explained and the reasons for the decisions we were making instead of the way it went. But anyway, I was delighted that people turned up in their thousands to oppose the transfer of the stroke unit to Craigavon, and that in itself was some consolation. And the fact that Jim Wells in the newsletter said that he's going ahead with the transfer is bad news for us, and I hope that this council will continue to oppose it. He says that he got information from the College of Surgeons and the National Institute for Clinical Excellence that you had a 25% better chance of being alive if you have a stroke in a specialist unit than in an ordinary A&E hospital. We told him that for the last couple of months. He must think that Daisy Hill is an ordinary A&E hospital. He mustn't recognise that it is. It also has a specialist stroke unit. He also says that stroke patients will continue to be treated at Daisy Hill, and only specialist acute care will have to take place at Craigavon, with patients returning for a rehab to Daisy Hill. That's completely untrue, as there won't be any stroke unit left in Newry to come back to. It's been changed into a paediatric ward, and there'll be no specialist nurses or consultants to look after patients, and there's certainly no rehab left. So they'll be just in along with geriatrics or whatever, and they'll have a 25% better chance of dying, actually, than living. And I got a colleague today to ring the authorities in London, the Royal College, that do the study, and that showed that Bury got, Daisy Hill got this actual exact same grade as the Royal. That's second in Northern Ireland. A B in consultancy care and an overall D, much higher than Craigavon. And we can't understand the minister's attitude. They said that they were totally opposed to moving patients from one place to another. Their advice, they said, stands at all times that if you're in a hospital where there is a stroke unit, that you move directly, if a patient has a stroke, from where you are in the hospital to the stroke unit, and not to travel unless it's absolutely necessary, because travel only makes the position far worse, especially if you have to go by ambulance on a very bad road as far as Craigavon. First of all, to get an ambulance. When I was sick 6 months ago, it took 55 minutes to get an ambulance to care of present. My good friend and colleague died recently. He got a hemorrhage and a stroke. Paula Hoban, and it took 45 minutes for the ambulance to get up the road, a couple of 100 yards, and an hour before either of us were in the hospital in Daisy Hill. Now, how it would have taken to get us to Craigavon and get us out of there and back into a bed and so on. The whole thing is absolutely crazy, Chair. And the Royal College, the Audit College in London said that they did not instruct any minister or anybody else to build a stroke unit miles away from Daisy Hill, or to close Daisy Hill, which they regard in a very highly, to be a very excellent institution, on which they marked, as I say, give it the same grade as the Royal Hospital. Now, we know that Mr. Wells has no intention of closing the Royal, so one has to ask then, why does he want to close Daisy Hill? Why did he want to downgrade the Tyrone Hospital, Dungannon Hospital, the Lurgan Hospital, and now Newry? That sounds to me like sectarian politics. It's unfortunate that I would have to use the word, but it's certainly it's certainly discrimination. There's no doubt about that, and I am very annoyed by the decision.
Frank, most people in this chamber, in fact everybody in this chamber, shares your concerns, and that's evidenced by the fact that we turned out in great numbers at that march. I have to take exception to your comments stating that the Platform Party didn't know what they're talking about. Members of the community, members of the community, Frank, and members of the trade unions know exactly what's going on, and to say that they didn't know what they're talking about is frankly insulting. Now, there are a number. The whole reason why.
What I said was that the minister didn't know what he was talking about, and he didn't.
The whole point of not having politicians speaking at this event
he has wrong advice.
Was to promote unity, and that's exactly what happened. I think it enhanced the parade. The politicians didn't speak on the podium. Councillor Mulgrew, were you looking at? Councillor Highland.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, that meeting the ladies, I mean, the most powerful message, apart from the obvious support for Daisy Hill Hospital and the stroke unit, was that the people didn't want the issue to become party political. They made that issue very, very clear, and hence I agree with the Mayor. It was good that there were no politicians on the platform, and it was good that other community activists and trade unions were able to express their point of view. The only thing I'd be critical about was that the PA system, I was in the middle of the crowd, and I couldn't hear most of the contributions of the speakers at it. And I think that if we're going to organise an event where you have literally thousands of people present, thousands of people willing and wanting to show their concerns, surely we need a proper PA system that allows every person on the platform to be heard. Thanks, Mayor. And could I just echo the sentiments of the other councillors regarding the congratulations on the high numbers of people that come out. But I have to say, and that's why I proposed originally in the town hall, the initial meeting, that there wouldn't be any politicians on the platform other than the Mayor. And the reason why I proposed that was because you were 4 5 weeks away from the general election, and that would have been used from all sides for to promote their own particular view. So Saturday wasn't about a platform party anyway. Saturday was about the people coming out and the public who wanted to show their support for Daisy Hill. The public are well educated and well informed about all those problems. That's why they come out in their thousands, because they knew all that. They knew the downgrading of Daisy Hill, and they knew about the stroke being removed. That's all in the public domain this last number of months. So that's why the people come out in their thousands, and I think it was an excellent and a very successful day, and I hope that message gets across to the powers that be.
Yes, Chairman. Chairman, I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of colleagues over in England, and whenever I run these issues by them, they suggest that what we're going through now is what England went through in the 90s, in this type of centralisation of absolutely everything relating to healthcare. Whereas they're actually moving away from that now. They've learned the lessons and they're moving away from that. And I was really surprised whenever Jim Wales called Donaldson the Alex Ferguson of medicine. Talk to the people in England and Wales. Talk to the people who teach the junior doctors. They were glad to see the back of Mr. Donaldson. And I think that we are going down the really wrong path in this here. And there is a lot of value in maintaining regional stroke services like we have in Daisy Hill, like we have in the Down Hospital in Downpatrick, and other types of services. So I think, Chairman, that crowd that came out did send a big message to the Minister that, please look at these issues again. And they really must try and accommodate people's wishes, and not bureaucratic and bungling pen pushers sitting up in Craigavon or up in Stormont, Chairman. They have to acknowledge the needs of local communities. Chairman, basically I'll leave it at that, but I think we really do need to continue to emphasise this need for high quality regional healthcare facilities.
Councillor McIntyre?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Again, just to add to the comments again, if you just pointed after the tremendous success of Saturday, where I say up to 9,000 is the estimated number of people who turned out for that march. But I'm very disappointed with Minister Wells's position on his statement today, and again disappointed that he didn't take the opportunity to assure, after having seen the reaction of the people of this area and all its public representatives, on behalf of all the people on its outlying areas of Newry District, that he could have actually taken the opportunity to assure us that he would personally put in place the home care package that has been promoted to go along with this whole new proposal. He also could have moved to assure us that his colleague Minister Storey would work with him to improve the rural transport schemes to get those areas that was so much talked about on Saturday from Cross McGlen down to the Mourns. And I think he missed that opportunity, and I think it was incumbent upon him in his statement to do that, and I look forward, certainly I hope that he will address that very matter, and that this will go out of this meeting tonight to him, that he hasn't addressed those concerns, and he should have done that, and that is totally wrong that he didn't do that, knowing the strength of feeling there is in this area.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Henry is completely right. You put your finger on it. It's centralisation. And whenever they talk about this business of we want to create a super acute unit, it doesn't exist. I mentioned a few times about that lady, the famous neuroscientist, Dame Nancy Rothaway. All the major drug companies have withdrawn funding in relation to research. They're getting nowhere. Cameron appointed a man, Simon Stevens, last 5th of July last year. He's a chairman, he's the chief executive of the health service in England, Wales. And the first thing he said, we've got to go back to the smaller hospitals. And what did we do? We closed every small hospital under the sun. Now, the people that's going to run this unit have told me, I've got it from the horse's mouth, it's about money. And we had this argument with the minister in Stormont a few weeks ago, Margaret Ritchie and I. He kept saying the professionalism and the science and all the rest. I said, look, with all due respect, Minister, that's rubbish. It's all about money. It's about the provision of physio, occupational therapy and speech therapy, which they say they can't afford for the 2 units. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about. Now, this is ironic. Craigavon at the moment, they want a model of nursing, a model of care, replicated on the Daisy Hill model. At a seminar down at the west of the province a few weeks ago, a very senior nurse stood up and told this particular person who had made a comment about strokes, we hope you're following the Newry model, the Daisy Hill model. What they're actually doing is they're taking away a mighty unit and they're building it in Craigavon. Now, I'm not going to use the word discrimination, but I do think what it's going to do, it's going to deprive every one of us, Catholic, Jew, dissenter or whatever, it's going to deprive all of us of an excellent care. Now, we've talked about transport and all the rest, but this is a case where we are losing a fantastic model of nursing, a model of care. And I tell you, there will be repercussions. And the other factor is this. Saturday was only the beginning. We need a strategy. We need to build up. We need to plan. And let's massively embarrass them and tell the truth to the world what they're actually doing. They're taking away a massive, mighty unit, an excellent unit, and placing it somewhere else. And it is our people, plus the fact that we have an older age population in this area, and it's our people who are going to suffer. Time will tell.
Frank, if you keep it brief.
Yes, Chair. A month ago, I asked for legal opinion. I particularly asked the management to get in touch with Shane Company and get barrister's opinion that was knowledgeable in medical affairs on the legality of this. Because in last year, at the end of last year, the Southern Trust asked for 400 million for a new hospital. Now, they had a public consultation service, as you know, and 67% of the public that replied didn't want the stroke unit to move from Newry.
Excuse
so
me, 87%. 87%.
Sorry, that's right, 87%. 13 were in favour, and they actually the Southern Board went with the 13%, which is totally undemocratic and unheard of in any type of democracy, and there is neither equity or justice there. So we got to reply to that, and I'm proposing that we write a letter to the
Trust.
To the trust, to the health trust, asking them to rescind the decision because it's based only on 13% of the population of Newry and more, not on the that it should be based on the 87%. I also want to get a copy of the legal advice when I'm John Citizen from next Frank's Citizen from next Wednesday. Because I did ask for it, I did have it seconded, and I inquired from the company, the legal company, did they hear about it? And they said no. So somebody fell down on their duty to ask for that legal advice. It's very important, based on the equality laws, based on the United Nations regulations for older people and so on. So we need that, because we might have to pursue the situation legally in the long run.
John, can we ask somebody to second the recommendation from the councillor for us to write to the trust to rescind the decisions?
I would second that.
Okay. And Chairman, the legal advice, Frank, you are right, you did ask for that legal advice, but it was not seconded on that night, even though you think it was, it wasn't. So if somebody seconds it now, Chairman,
I second it. He did it.
It's not in the minutes, Chairman, and the minutes were adopted.
Whenever the proposal was put to the floor, I asked you to take the proposal that Frank made in relation to legal opinion that I had seconded
to take it separately, but you said yes, you are taking it separately.
It went to show of hands.
Not in the show of hands, yeah.
But then it wasn't, if you recall.
It was seconded, Eddie.
The second
You
was
can
not
waffle
taken.
away all you like up there, it
Not
was
waffle away,
seconded.
Chairman.
And there's people over there who tell you it was seconded.
You took a vote on the first one, Chairman, the second one was not taken a vote
Nonsense.
on. It was a recommendation but not put in front of council. But Chairman, if it is seconded now tonight, Chairman, we can agree to take it.
It is second.
Okay, Chairman, 13, is it okay if we take the same proposal and seconder for 12, Chairman, as is for the same report? Is everybody okay with that? Yeah. Item 14, Chairman, is a report of the single leisure committee meeting. Somebody proposing second. Second. Any comments? Comments and matters arising, Chairman?
Councillor McCare.
Yeah, okay, tell me first. No, I was just asking just about the status of the voluntary contributions form. I see his recommendation is that additional voluntary contribution forms are going in for 2 contributions. I got asked just about that because I know people who have missed out on their application for voluntary contributions this year, and we're told, and we all understand, that there's no more to go in, there's no more money left. So just somebody explain, please.
Chairman, that's really for the Super Council. It was not the council here. There was advertisement went out for the VCs, and they would come in. Then the council agreed to extend that because some of the community associations were unaware that they had to make an application. That was extended and is now closed. However, the information I have is that the Super Council, those decisions on the VCs have not been taken. So for somebody to say that all the money's gone is not exactly accurate because they have not been assessed yet. However, the Chief Executive of the Super Council did state that there would be 3 calls for VCs throughout the year, so there will be another call, but that's a decision for the Super Council when they realise how much money they require for the first tranche.
So, Chair, Eddie, then could we sign in for any group that I have to ask them to put forward a voluntary contribution?
No, there'll be a second call for Chairman. Until that call is made, Chairman, there's no call at the moment.
So why are these?
The first call is closed.
So why are these before us as fresh ones in? 19th of March.
Which page are you on, Chairman? Or which
Page number. Well, they're all page number 1 on this, but it's the recommendation.
On
On
what
that.
item are we on, Chairman?
We're on report of the Special Leisure Committee meeting recorded Thursday, 19th of March, I do believe.
Chairman, they were not VCs, Chairman. This is where the council at a meeting agreed to overspend. And when the council agreed to an overspend, as per your policy, council officials have to immediately submit a voluntary contribution application form. Those were done and seconded by the council at those meetings, Chairman, and we have to report those back because the government auditor, when the council makes the recommendation to spend funding, there is a procedure that has to be adhered to. The council agreed to the overspend, if you want to go down through those, to the Ballyvea of £13,000. The council officials informed the council at that meeting that if they wanted to do that, that a VC application form would have to be submitted by the club. That has been done and scored and has gone through the system. The same happened for the hockey club as well, Chairman, and that was gone through the system. So that's during the current year, not in the Super Council year. And you as a council have got the right to overspend. We did inform the councillors at the time that it was an overspend, but that is within the procedures, Chairman.
One is there. So there's a slightly different one. It's not relevant to
Sorry,
our
I
spend
thought you were talking
and
about
agreed
next year's
spend.
rather than this year's.
Yeah, no, but it's still made. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hill.
Just on our visit, the councillor's visit to the swimming pool on Friday, I was really delighted to hear Gerard McGivern say that monies would be made available for the next stage of the development. And I think if we get anything like the facility that we have now down in the meadow, the swimming pool, this whole area will be very, very proud. I was really impressed by the great levels of work shown there on Friday. And Newry people, I think, would be flocking that, and district would be flocking to that facility because it is so good. And it's really good that this council goes out with that sort of legacy behind it. Well done. Well done to all concerned.
Okay, Chairman. The next item there, Chairman, 14A, report of technical letter service meeting held on the 11th of March. Somebody's proposing second, Chairman. Seconder. Any matters arising there, Chairman?
Can I raise a couple of items on the technical letter, Chair? I've been kind of the council officials about. One was a defibrillator at Carney Road playing field. There's 4 soccer fields up there, and there's a lot of youth football takes place up there on Saturday mornings and during the week. and I had asked some time ago that they show some consideration and put a defibrillator in there. As of yet, I haven't heard anything back from any officials, so I would like to think that that would be done, because at this day and age it's nearly a necessity where there's playing fields, especially when there's youth involved. The other one is St Colman's again. The marking of the pitch for to play soccer on. Is there any update on that? I was to get an update on that and the signage, council signage at the entrance.
Chairman, as you know, that the council is not the owners of the facility at St Colman's. The council officials have brought those to the attention of the school, who are the managers of the facility and looked after the contract. To the best of my knowledge, I have no other update on that even, but they were brought to the attention of the school, but I haven't heard of any actual agreement on it. Chairman, Ian, have you any?
No, I have nothing to report.
Chairman, I'll arrange this then, follows up, and I will phone you back about that.
Somebody else will take the burden on this one, but Chairman, at the time it was assured to all the clubs that soccer markings would be placed on the
Yeah, I accept that, Chairman.
That's part of the contract that the council had with these people. So it has to be fulfilled. So when is it, people want to know, especially youth soccer and the teams that are used. I think it's nearly upwards of 70% of the usage of soccer up there. They're saying to me, when is it going to be marked? So could somebody find out when it is going to be marked?
Chairman, I'd find out, but the responsibility, again, I have to emphasise, it's not like the council lies with the college union as a partner in that can ask, and as you know, that has been done, Chairman. But I'll arrange to speak to the principal of that school first thing in the morning, and I will phone him.
Information, Chairman. There's £750,000 of ratepayers' money up there. That was what was spent from the ratepayers of this area. I think they're entitled to get some kind of recognition.
Chairman, just to back up Councillor Burns, we have a service level agreement with them, and there are expectations and they have obligations, and if they're not fulfilling those, we would need to look very seriously at it.
The service level agreement wouldn't include the marking of the pitch.
I think it does. I think it does.
But that's not to say, Chairman, that it should not happen. And as I emphasised, the council officials have asked for that, but they just haven't asked for it.
Well, I think it's time to sort legal advice on that one then.
Okay, Chairman, we'll come back to you on that in the morning.
Councillor Clark.
Yeah, Chair, item 415, Octagon landfill site is due to close tomorrow, according to all the plans. Is that still going ahead?
Yes, Chairman.
All the plan?
Yes, all the plan, Chairman. Yeah. The contract that you have with the new suppliers that service starts up on the 1st of April. The 1st of April. Everything is signed to say, Chairman, and is ready to go.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Chairman, item 15 from Port of Newry, Prime PhD Gullion meeting regarding land accommodation. Somebody propose? Councillor Feehan, second, Councillor Clement. Or Roisin?
Yeah, I would just like an opportunity to raise something here, if you don't mind, Chair. I just wanted to express the anger and disappointment felt throughout Slieve Gullion area over the weekend at the Minister's decision to withdraw funding from the Ring of Gullion AONB officer. It's particularly unfortunate because there's a lot of hurt in Slieve Gullion. They're worried about if we're going to be fairly represented in the new council, and there's a lot of concern. There was a letter of offer in place which had, promised funding up until 2017, and on the back of that, the officer was only actually appointed a number of weeks ago. Now, that officer, who I have had the pleasure of working with quite a lot and met through different community groups and schools, etc., she had a full programme of events throughout the entire area already scheduled. She's actually been a key part of the promotion of tourism, environmental education and so forth within the area. Now, I appreciate that there also have been savage cuts in the moorings. I think it's particularly regrettable as we in the new council have sat through many workshops and talked again about the significance of tourism and the opportunity of creating employment through tourism, and yet a cut like this is going to have a massive negative impact on the whole of South Armagh. So I would respectfully request that the clerk of this council and also of the new council would write a letter to the Minister and ask for a meeting, and that we will actually raise this further, because I think it is a massive mistake
that is being made here, and I think the anger throughout South Armagh is reflected because there was an online petition posted on Saturday and there's almost 800 people have signed it already, and it would be a mistake to underestimate the effect that this will have in the whole area.
I was really to follow on from what we said. I'm happy to second her proposal. Like most councillors in Slieve Cullion, I'm sure we've all received representations about this over the weekend. The Ring of Cullion project is a key, important, tourist attraction as such. It's also a significant economic driver in the area, and it's something that we need to protect. And because there was a commitment, as has been said, that this finance would be made available until 2017, and it is regrettable that a decision has now been taken to remove that finance. And I think it is necessary that the Minister does intervene at this stage to try and save this, because it will have big repercussions if the finance isn't available to go on. So I'm happy to second that proposal.
Just for information, I was just letting you know that the Chief Executive of the Super Council is already sending that letter out. That's going out tomorrow, Chairman, asking for that meeting.
Sorry, through the Chair, can I just say that I was in contact with the Minister as well and reinforcing our commitment to the project. So,
Minister,
he's aware.
Councillor Quinn.
Yes, voting for her mention of the Mourns and to request that the Mourne Heritage Trust would be included, highlight the cuts to their fund and their father.
Thank you. Councillor McTeer.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, certainly, I would certainly agree that these cuts that are coming down from Stormont certainly having a major effect on us and in our area. And would also, when we are in the mood for writing letters, could I ask that the Department of Education, the Minister for Education, is also written to and ask him to address why he has cut £28 million in the budget, likely to see 500 job losses in teaching staff and 1,000 non-teaching staff as well. So I propose that we also write to that Minister as well and express our horrifiedness that the fact that our horrification at the massive cuts that in our classrooms and in our schools throughout this whole area, that these pupils and teachers are facing these sort of cuts. So I wholeheartedly encourage letters going to Stormont.
Even though the Minister isn't responsible for his own budget, and that comes from Westminster. Certainly, do you have a seconder for that proposal?
Oh no, he is indeed. He didn't do it by remote control.
I'm seconding.
Eddie,
he keep it right.
I'm closing. That's what the Minister is good for 14 people, and I know money.
Chairman, on the ring. Chairman, on the issue of the Ring of Cullion, the CEO of the Super Council, Liam, has also asked for a coming together of all environmental groups inside of the area who have had their funding cut to come up with a strategy in advance of going to a meeting with the Minister.
Councillor
Wright. We are seeing really horrific cuts right across the spectrum. And it seems that environmental people seem to be getting the brunt of it. And maybe it shows how we actually rate volunteer environmental groups. Whenever the likes of the Mourne Heritage Trust, the Ulster Wildlife Fund, the Ring of Cullion group are being shot. And Chairman, your colleague respectfully requested that we write to the Minister. I would respectfully remind you, Chairman, as a senior member of Sinn Féin, that this comes from your party and your reluctance to accept welfare reform and then reneging on agreements. And it's going to get a lot worse, Chairman. It's going to get a lot worse. And the root cause, Chairman, lies at the feet of the Sinn Féin members at Stormont. That's the truth.
Item 6, Chairman, is a report of the Newrytown meeting on the 26th of January regarding the family commemoration. That's and 17 as well, Chairman. Somebody proposed and second those three reports proposed. So Councillor McAteer, second by Councillor Garden.
Chairman, could I just query that? I thought meeting Mr. Russell, made the point that he was hoping to get a very large event to Newry during the summer come autumn. And he was fairly confident that this would be passed by the Irish government, that the event would be staged here. but he also made the point that if we wanted to honour and give it the correct respect it deserves, we need to get money from somewhere to back it up. Could Eddie maybe let us know, has there been any more movement on that? Because if such an event is going to happen, we do need to prepare for it and we need to organise for it.
Chairman, yes, we are aware that it's going to cost money. But Chairman, we did say at the time, because the individual that you only have to mention assured us as a council that it would cost us nothing, that it was going to be paid for by the government. That never happens. That never happens. But I know that Mr. McGivern is actively and has held a series of meetings on making sure that it does happen inside of this area.
It would be a good event.
It would be a good event. 18, Chairman, is the report of Newry Town councillors on the meeting held on Tuesday, the 24th of March 2015, on the consultation on the Newry Treatment and Care Centre. Chairman, Chairman, thank you, Chairman. Somebody second that, Chair? Chair, just to report, Chairman, as well, that we did meet with the developers who had requested the use of the 2 pitches in Jennings Park. Chairman, we're pleased to announce that the consultation has come back. The developers have acknowledged that the community do not want the pitches that are used, Chairman, and they have informed officials and Mr. McShane, the legal advisor from the council, that they support the retention of 2 full-size playing fields in that district, Chairman.
Councillor Casey?
You trying to steal my thunder or something?
Hope not, Chairman.
Normally elected members that come in with that sort of statement, but no matter.
I
I think it's actually time to put this to bed once and for all, Chair. I know, and this is the final meeting of Newry Mourne District Council, and it's been clearly evident from the very start, the beginning of this process, just how strong the feelings are within the community about this whole issue of the Jennings Park. So I'm proposing now, Chair, that we make the decision here now that Jennings Park is not for sale, Chair.
Add that on to your proposal, Charlie. Just add that in.
Yeah. As you said at the very beginning, this first game of the council, I was the one who said that suggested we tell them there and then that Jennings Park is not for sale. And I was very much supportive of the residents in that area and have been all along. I'm very happy to second Councillor Casey's proposal that we inform whoever needs to be informed that Jennings Park is not for sale.
Councillor Bailey?
Chairman, I agree with that. 6 weeks ago, this party, I issued a statement with the consent of the party, totally against the sale of Jennings Park or its use in any other way other than as recreational, and that the people of the Meadow and that area had enjoyed it for many years and spent their summers watching matches there, and that is the only green area they have. And that was printed in the local press and the Newry Reporter, and we haven't ever changed our mind on that, and we were the first in to support the citizens of that area, the Meadow. Thank you.
It's great to see some of those residents here today. Councillor Hyden?
I just want to compliment the residents for the stand they taken. We talked about people power on the streets of Newry on Saturday. We also have people power through their efforts to go round all the houses in the Meta and surrounding area and to get a petition which clearly objected to it. I mean, following our visit to the swimming pool where we had a number of cars inside, it was obviously from the build-up of traffic there that such an initiative wouldn't hold water, because there were going to be 600 people actually working on the site, there would be thousands of people visiting, and the build-up in traffic through that concentrated area just wasn't on and wouldn't be viable. So I'm delighted that we've taken that decision, and I commend the residents for their stand on it.
Item 19, Chairman, report of Mourne Councillors meeting held on Monday the 23rd regarding the Analog Gate, Chairman. Somebody proposed and seconded Councillor McKee. Comments? Councillor McKee, you want to?
Chairman, just Analog our council owns an area there, nicely designed, well lit, not an issue for motorhomes. But at 3 o'clock on the Saturday morning, Sunday morning I believe it was, a taxi let out 4 young lads, and they weren't that young, and they've done a bit of damage to those vans. Actually almost broken a window. threw away the steps, pulled out the plugs at 3 o'clock in the morning. Now these people had stayed, there was 2 vans, and they had stayed in the Harbour Inn and various places in Annalong and spent up to £100 that night. And the plan was we're going to watch the rugby the following night. And they were told me that they could spend up to £200 in Annalong. But after that incident happened, they gathered up and went away. Now I managed to get a phone number for both of them. And it's unbelievable that the person that it actually happened to, who almost got the window broken, he runs a motorhome website for all mobile home owners in Ireland, of which he's responsible for 2,000. On the following morning, 2,000 of motorhome owners got an email to say Annalong was no longer a safe place to stay in. And I said to him, like, why did you go so strong? He said, it's my duty to put it on. Should something happen to someone? He said, the finger pointed at me. Well, I said, look, all I can do is try and get a meeting with council, with PSNI and whoever. And when we get an answer and the problem, I hope alleviate it. So I'll get back to you. He says, I'm very happy to put something back on again to say that Annalong is now a safe place. So, Chairman, could I make a proposal that we do meet PSNI, Annalong Community Association and whoever we can get something sorted there?
Somebody just second that?
Second, Chairman.
Thank you.
And I also heard about this gentleman's way of relaying this information around the community who use camper vans. And it's all very well us meeting with the community association down there. This council and the community association have been trying very hard to address the issues of antisocial behaviour down in that area. But I think we now need to appeal to the parents of these young people, and as Councillor McGee said, the not so young people, that they're harming their own community. They're driving business and money out of their own community. It's time they wakened up to what it is that they're doing.
Yes, Chairman, I agree with Councillor McGee and Councillor Quinn. Only, I hate to have to say it, but I told you so. And Chairman, that was part of a £370,000 scheme that was administered under the coastal route scheme by the Tourist Board. And they were told at the time that to put 4 travelling or 4 caravan places in there, it would always be difficult to make it work because the area is so wide open and it's beside an urban area, and it was almost inevitable that young ones would torture these people. Now, it's an awful thing to say. That's just the society that we live in. Now, Chairman, that same money, they put a play park in that has now virtually no equipment left in it because it was destroyed or either broke of its own will. But Chairman, just it goes to show again the absolute waste in some of these schemes that we have to play a part in administering. And Chairman, the Chestnuts have a state-of-the-art caravan park on up the road where these types of vehicles could go and have absolute security. And that the Irish Caravan Association, we give them very significant help at the Mourne Esplanade virtually every year with Mrs McBride. Does a brilliant job in organising that, and we do all we can to facilitate them. And I think, as Harold says, maybe they should acknowledge that this is a good area and it was a one-off incident.
Okay, Chairman, report of staff and policy meeting held on Tuesday the 24th, Chairman. Copy and close. Somebody propose, Chairman, second. Close. Second. Councillor Fjord.
Chairman, I just wanted to make a comment on Friday we had the last meeting of the New York Travellers Forum, and I just wanted to commend the work of the forum. This is the only one of its type in the whole of the North, and you know it's being led by and coordinated by Kate Bingham and Justina McCabe here, and I just want to commend the work of it, and I really hope that it will continue forward into the new council because it's a very vital grouping, and it's as I said, it's only one of its kind, and it really does address some of the issues that are affecting travellers. So I just want to have that minute, please.
Councillor McBride.
Thanks, Mayor. Mayor, there was that's 8 jobs increase in their salary scale point as part of the restructure. How many jobs in total have had their salaries increase in scale?
Chairman, we've got Catherine Sweeney, Assistant Director of HI. Do you want to comment on that, Catherine?
I don't have the details about exactly how many posts, but there have been a number of posts that have been had to be developed through restructure over this past year or so. So we bring them to council and they're there to be noted at council.
Chairman, just on that, Chairman, that is item 28, Chairman, on the extra. If somebody proposed second, then we can go in, Chairman, to debate any other comments. Chairman, somebody proposed, Chairman, Councillor Feely, second there. Any other comments to that? And Chairman, we'll arrange to come back to Councillor McGrady with that information. Back to you tomorrow morning. No problem. Yeah, we'll do it. Chairman, item 21 is report of planning committee held on Thursday, 5th of March. Somebody to vote. Councillor Feely. Seconder.
Chair, that there's a slight mistake there at the bottom of the second page where it says that it's probably true as the Carl, Councillor Carl, Councillor Feely expressed thanks to the representatives of the planning service for attending the planning development committee meeting. That's what they're paid for.
I did not express any thanks to them. I expressed thanks. Hold on, Chair. I expressed thanks to the former representatives that were here for years and did an excellent job. But the two new ones that arrived, I thought were extremely arrogant, and they arrived here with a decision one Thursday that there'd be no more office meetings for people who were turned down for planning permission. I described them so as being extremely arrogant and as having not a vote between them and no right to speak on behalf of the people, and that we wanted the office meetings back. And the following month they came back and the office meetings were reinstated. But I don't want to be on record. I don't want to be on record as congratulating them for anything. They were under pressure and they had to change their decision.
Folks, can we have a bit of quiet, please? A bit of respect for members.
Chairman, I have to agree with Councillor Feely totally on this issue. And I know that there is mix-ups and there's an amalgamation going on between the two councils and transfer of staff and all their all the stuff paraphernalia that they use. But Chairman, it is completely in free fall. And there's people there now looking to build a porch, a basic porch, 4 or 5 months, can't get it even streamlined. Now, there's something badly wrong, and I know there's going to be an onus on the new councillors. I'm sure Frank Feely will be delighted to hear that the new councillors, the councillors that sit in the new planning committee will be getting, I think it's 3,700 a year for their work, after the work that we done in here for years. But Chairman, the message must go from this council to the Newry, Mourne and Down Council that these issues have to be sorted out immediately. They cannot linger on anymore. They're damaging the local economy. They're stopping people getting houses built. It's just totally unacceptable. Even the Greencastle Ferry issue that was meant to be back on at the end of March and then April missed again. You know, these are big economic issues that have the potential to really affect local economy, and we're being messed about through poor planning efficiency.
Because
Chairman, item number 2 is the sealing of the document. Chairman, somebody proposing second. Councillor Hardy, seconder. Chairman, item number 3, report of Albert Basin subcommittee meeting plus all interested councillors on Tuesday the 24th of March. Chairman, somebody proposing second. Chairman. Second. Chairman, can we just seconder? Councillor McCarthy. Chairman, just on that report, Chairman, you see that the outstanding recommendation in regard to a meeting with the stakeholders, council officers, planners and road service be held inside the action. Chairman, that will be referred to the Super Council for them to consider, and that the new the Super Council continues with the Albert Basin subcommittee. Chairman, we can only recommend that, we can't enforce that, Chairman, so just to let you know that, Chairman, we can only look at, and particularly as well, the Chairman, with the recommendations as to what uses it should have, that will be a decision for the Super Council, not for the current Council, Chairman. Chairman, item 24 is to discuss the way forward in land at the Mance Road, Kilkeel, Chairman. Chairman, this is regarding more stimulus. The the chairperson of Moore Civils advised there is no need for a meeting at present, and they will bring this back. So this again, Chairman, will have to go to the Super Council. Could someone just propose and second that, Chairman? Yeah. Item number 5 is to consider approval for the lease of the Portakabin sites at Norman Brown Park, the Mully to the Mully FC, Chairman. Just to confirm that all is in order for that to happen now, Chairman. Proposed Councillor Taylor, seconder. Councillor Feely. Thank you, Councillor Feely. Report from Warrenpoint FC regarding erection of commercial signage on the boundary fence. Chairman, recommending there as senior officials meet with the club to come to an amicable solution in that, Chairman. If that is acceptable to the Council, somebody propose a second, Chairman. Propose. Councillor Murray, second. Councillor comments?
Certainly, Councillor McGreevy.
For myself, so.
Councillor McAteer.
Oh no, just. No, no, it's okay. Let me just.
Chairman, 27 is to approve the legal agreement between the Council and Space and Area and More Community Transport for the delivery of Kilkeel Home to Hospital scheme. The Chairman, this is a scheme, Chairman, is a pilot scheme. Some of the comments that have been made tonight on this subject, Chairman, just to confirm, the grant is in the region of £10,000, but it doesn't cost the Council, it comes from the Trust, Chairman. So it's just somebody opposed to say. Thanks, Chairman. Okay, Chairman. Item 28, Chairman, is a progress report on the late schemes that came through for the capital funding. Chairman, just say that everything is in order with Valley Rangers, Ballygan. The contribution from the Council will be fully committed by tomorrow. Valley Bay Rangers, which was a very late one, Chairman, again, the VC has been filled in and scored. The legal agreement is completed and the letter of offer is out, and that scheme will be completed as well. The Blackirvin Mugga pitch, Chairman, is completed and will be opened up after the election. Chairman, the Drummond T, the project is about 75% done, Chairman, and all the contribution from the Council will be completed before tomorrow. And Chairman, the last one was in Newry Hockey Club. The VC is in, scored, letter of offer is out, the legal agreement has been finalised, and the project will be completed by the 31st of March, Chairman. So pleased to say that all of those schemes, Chairman, have gone through the hoops, Chairman, and are ready to be funded. Chairman, moving on again to
31st of March this year.
Yeah,
just all gone through now, it'll be finished tomorrow.
No, they have been on, Chairman, for months, been on, Chairman. But Chairman, I have to say, Chairman, it has been exceptionally hard for officials to get these through, Chairman. Some of these, like one of those schemes, Chairman, was £500,000 and it has been completed from the mid of February, like tonight, and ensured that all the finance out of the Council will be expended, but that has happened, Chairman.
Councillor Ray.
Yeah, Chairman, I'm sorry to comment too many issues today, but I would really, I'm really grateful to Eddie Curtis because he has shown that whenever there's a bit of pressure on, he can deliver, and there's no doubt about that. Chairman,
watch him now, watch him.
Chairman, one very serious issue. One very serious issue that I'm concerned about, and that is Kilkeel Hockey Club, Chairman. Now, this council did give a commitment of 100,000, and they've received letters saying right up until today, really. You know, if you get funding, we will back you. And Chairman, I hope that the councillors who will serve on the new Newry Morn and Down Council will honour those commitments that were made. Mr. Hanaway has indicated that he will do, Eddie, but certainly I'm pretty certain I'll be relying on you and leaning on your shoulder to try and get that over the line when the time comes.
No better man.
It must be 6 foot tall.
Chairman, number 29 is a verbal update from myself, Chairman. The Key Shopping Centre, as you know, has gone into the development of Phase 6, I think it is, Chairman, and they've come asking the Council to take a look at St Christopher's Park for parking. Chairman, what officials would recommend is the Chief Executive of the Super Council and myself will meet with the Keys and bring a proposal back to the Council.
Sure. Can I speak on that? I would have pressed on me to do something on this because some of the residents down in Drumley and Victor seem to be tortured at the minute regarding parking. There's some of the people can't even, one incident last week where a person couldn't even get out of their house. Someone abandoned the car, so they're going to have to be something dealt with, and I've hoped that I've done it as soon as possible. Vote Kennedy, number 1.
Did you tell them to vote Kennedy?
Number 1. Vote Kennedy, X.
Good man, Taylor. Good man. Oh no, Taylor's talking about it now. What's that? I vote Kennedy, tell them.
They said you weren't doing anything.
Kennedy, I told us we weren't doing anything for you.
We still have this
They were suggesting that you give Kennedy number one, he will definitely give you number two, and that's
it's an X, Henry, it's first past the post.
Don't confuse them.
Councillors, please. A bit of respect here.
I presume that's limited to the development of the new phase. We don't want another Christopher Park where it costs us $1 million to get people out that we let in for a few months.
Councillor Feely, do you want to repeat that?
Yes, Chair. I was hoping that the decision is to let St Christopher's Park for car parking. I presume it will be time limited until the new phase at the shopping centre is built. Otherwise, that is not an open contract whereby they'll be there as long as they like, because as you know, what happened is the last time it cost us £1 million to get rid of the occupants of St Christopher's Park.
Chairman, no, this will be very short term, Chairman, but as I said, reporting that has to be brought back to the Council, Chairman.
To the new council?
To the new Council, yeah. Chairman, item 30, Chairman, is report of Hughes Councillors meeting held on Friday the 20th March regarding the business case for the Campbell Community Association, Chairman. As you know, that has gone through, Chairman, and we're looking for somebody to propose a second. Proposed Councillor McGrew, seconder. Councillor Fegan, thank you, Councillor. 31, Chairman's report of Crockley Councillors meeting held on Monday the 9th of March regarding Worm Point Bowling Club, Chairman. Somebody to propose and second, Chairman. Recommendations. Proposed Councillor Ruan, seconder. 32, Chairman's report of Newry County Councillors and all interested councillors regarding the Southdown Community Rescue Service, Chairman. Somebody propose a second, Chairman.
Chairman, what was the decision there?
Proposal, Councillor Casey,
Somebody seconder.
Councillor Hart.
Yeah, Chairman, any decision on facilitating the Southdown Community Rescue at either the former Ross Thompson site and the Albert Basin site be a matter for the Super Council, but that an urgent meeting be convened directly after this meeting with officers and the group of the Albert Basin, and that a follow-up meeting with officer CEO and the Southdown Community Rescue Service be arranged on-site at Albert Basin as a matter of urgency to discuss the interim use.
I was at that meeting and I expressed the opinion that we shouldn't let anybody only on very, very strict legal terms on a very short period of time into the Albert Basin. Because people have a habit of staying on and they get settled down. And this particular group, although they do very good work, they would be there for the longer term, and we have to watch that. I thought the Ross Thompson site was much better for them, part of it, just a corner of it.
Chairman, the recommendation from officials that neither site would be used and that officials look for another site, Chairman, and that would be the recommendation that would be put forward, because if you do put on a temporary basis, Chairman, it will have a negative effect on both the development of the Ross Thompson
I know, yeah.
site. So we'd need to look somewhere else, Chairman.
All right.
Councillor Coughlin.
And I couldn't get them in. I had sent apologies. Don't see them recorded.
You are there, Councillor Carr, yeah?
My apologies.
There you are.
No, that's in the police one. Not on that one.
Chair, I hear what Eddie's saying and what Frank's saying, but we've got to be very careful. We're leading this group up the garden path, for the want of a better term. It is weeks, if not months ago, that we had said that we would allow them to go to the Thompson site, and then when they were making preparations to do that, in fact, almost had the Porty cabin ready to move in, we said no, it's not on. And we come back to discuss it again and said, well, okay, things have changed a wee bit since we talked about the Albert Basin site, and there may well be room down there. Plus it's a better location, because they're specifically looking for a location along the canal, because when people go missing, it's generally the first place we go to look. So I think I'm a wee bit concerned with Eddie's comments there, that officials are now, after all of this time, saying, well, really neither site is right. So I do think we should have the meeting down at the Albert Basin as quick as possible. It is a temporary arrangement, and I hear what Frank's saying, but temporary arrangements are temporary arrangements. It does what it says in the tin, and it'll do what it says in the agreement. So I really feel that this group have been given the runaround a wee bit, and we need to put that to bed fairly quickly. So let's do the right thing and meet them down there.
So I don't have a problem with all that, Chairman. The problem I have, Chairman, when you put somebody on a temporary basis, what happens after that is over, Chairman? Because then you get a very strong lobby that comes back to say, look, the thing there, you should be left there. I think there's other options, Chairman. I would have to say, I'm sorry, I was not at those meetings, but my view straight away when I heard that they put in the application was that the council should look at this, because you've done it in the past and it's cost you substantial sums of money to remove them. When you let them on site for longer than 1 year, under the Tenancy Act, they get rights, and under that Act, Chairman, then you have to pay them to remove. So what I think is we need to look at a more, of course, a more permanent facility for them, but not on land that is in the ownership of the council. And I hopefully will be speaking to somebody who owns land in and around that area, asking them if they will allow them in. They might have to pay a small rent, Chairman, but I think it would be a better solution for all involved.
Councillor Casey?
Yeah, as one who's been at quite a number of those particular meetings, I think the term the council used was that we will work with the group. There was never any indication that there would be one specific site set aside for them. Now, Ross Thompson's yard was mentioned, no doubt, but with the work that's going to be ongoing to Newry Town Hall going forward, there's going to be a construction site there, and I think that site that they had hoped might be identified for them to use will be used as a construction site. So a health and safety issue wouldn't allow it to happen. So we had that. The latest meeting was, and the representative from that group was fairly happy that what the council were doing was reasonable in trying to find them, identify a suitable site, and find them somewhere where they can actually have their base.
Chairman, item 33 is report of Newry and Warren Policing Committee meeting held on the 9th of March. I will propose a second.
Any comments on that?
Item 34, Chairman's report of Newry and Warren Policing Community Partnership Committee meeting held on the 9th of March. Councillor Byrne, seconder. Councillor Hurley. 35, request from St Joseph's Primary School Newry to waive the hire fees for the Newry Town Hall and some of £450 for a school fundraising event. Chairman, normally you don't waive the charges, Chairman, you would give a small grant to a school like that if that's what the council want to do.
Yeah,
Okay, well, note that, Chairman. You get a second? You have a proposal from Councillor McFeely, seconder, Chairman. Councillor Howland. Chairman, report of Cogley Councillors meeting held on the 19th of March regarding Warren Point Park. Chairman, copy enclosed. Councillor McAteer, seconder. Councillor Ruan. Report of views meeting, Chairman, held on the 13th of March regarding Derrymore Estate Partnership. There's a copy enclosed, Chairman. Somebody proposed. Seconder.
Seconder.
Councillor Hardy.
Chairman, report of Integrated Rural Development Committee meeting held on the 26th of March, Chairman. Somebody proposed second.
Councillor Quinn. Comments, Councillor Quinn?
No, just
Chairman, to approve use of Warren Point Park by Bell's Amusement as follows: Easter week, week commencing the 30th of March, 1 week in August and a second week in August, you can see there, Chairman. Bell's Amusement will have use of the park for a total of 5 weeks. Chairman, it has been a request in today that they were supposedly supposed to leave that area for 1 week, but they've asked now to stay and then to take a week off in the summer. However, we've had a complaint from a resident about that, Chairman. It's really a decision for the council. My recommendation is that you stick with the proposal that you have, Chairman.
Chair. First of all, I don't think we're talking about the use of Warren Point Park by Bell's Amusement.
No,
that would, you may get more than one complaint if that was to be the case. We'll call it the Square Warren Point to start with. I think that reference the staying in there for a week when they weren't operational. It was agreed that to take a week out of August.
That's what they're recommending.
That's what, yeah. That was agreed with Paddy Duffy and Co, was it?
Well, no, they've asked for that. Since that has been asked for, there's been a complaint from a resident, the fact that they're not going to leave in the week that they said they were going to leave, or they weren't going to operate.
And what are you saying the proposal should be?
We should say with the proposal that we agreed at the commencement of the licence agreement.
Okay. I checked this last week and the opposite. I was told the opposite.
No, we find this out, Michael, that's why it's on tonight, because we found out that there was a complaint in there. So we thought it would be best to bring that to the attention of the Crockett Council tonight for them to take a decision.
So, okay, so they'll go out tomorrow and back in on weekend.
Whatever it is, whatever you have agreed on your original licence, we're saying that should be maintained.
So it's the original license from the original proposal here.
And Chairman, sorry, that should have said for the car park in the square, Chairman.
We have no proposer or second.
Somebody propose a second, Chairman, then?
Yeah, so Councillor Taylor, second. Councillor Barnes.
Request from Uri Street Unite Community Group for the Council to continue responsible and maintain the flare and green area at Hillside Drive to Keel after it is operated by the group. Chairman, can we recommend a site meeting on that for the councillors to fully consider that with the proposal that we accept what the group is looking for, subject to it being within the powers of the Commission?
Councillor Dorn.
Sure, what if the electricity supply up there?
Chairman, we've written to the NIE and asked them, and they've promised to come back to us, but we haven't heard from them, Chairman.
It's gone 6 months now.
Chairman, not on usual for NIE, Chairman, but we'll arrange just to follow it up again.
Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Quinn, you have a comment? Councillor Carr, second.
Yeah, no, Chair, sorry, I have to revisit the last item again where we talked about, okay, so this is Monday night. We're now going to ask them to
adhere to the license agreement.
the amusements, but I'm not sure that we can. It takes them 2 days to come in and out. If we take them 2 days to get out now, we'll take them up to Thursday and they'll be coming in for Easter, and it takes them 2 days to get in. So that, you know, it doesn't make sense what we're asking them to do. I was just asked that we bear in mind that they got an indication some week ago that it'd be okay to stay there for that week and take a week out of Easter, so that overall in the course of the year they're still only there 5 weeks. But if we ask them tomorrow morning to get out and it takes them 2 days to get out, they'll be coming back in again on Thursday for Easter anyhow. It would be very foolish for us to do that.
Chairman, it does become frustrating. They're there every year. Why do they leave it to the last minute to come in again to change the license agreement that they have already signed up to with the council?
I'm not making any...
And I'm not fighting for them, Chairman, not for them or against them, Chairman. What I'm saying is there's been a complaint. It's up to you as a council if you want to alter the license agreement. I don't have a problem with that, Chairman. All I'm informing you there was a complaint. And what we would normally do is say, well, adhere to the license agreement. But if you're saying to me that is not reasonable, I am not involved in it, so I don't know all of the entities of it, Chairman.
I was just telling you, I was forgetting Easter Sunday's next Sunday, isn't it?
Councillor Ryan.
So.
Yeah, Chairman. I'm disappointed that they've actually haven't left when they were supposed to leave, because they're well aware of the difficulties in the town with regards to them being in the square, and ourselves as local councillors receive a lot of flack from a lot of people regarding the lack of parking within the town. And as I say, I think they would have made life easier for everyone if they had left when they were supposed to leave. But I do accept what Councillor Clark said, that it's not something they can put up in a couple of hours. It does take a number of days. And I'm not too sure asking them to leave now, which would probably mean they'd be out by Wednesday night, coming back in Friday. So I would say that we take a week off them in August. Sounds more reasonable request.
So could we go for the middle ground and say that the council officials negotiate with both Bells and with the resident who was against it to come up with a solution that is for the benefit of all of the parties?
And insist that they must follow whatever agreements in the future.
Okay, Chairman.
Well done, Michael. Well done.
Chairman, item 40.
That's your hobby horse.
Yeah, we've gone through that, Chairman. Did we get a proposal second for 40? The second for 40, Chairman, regarding the Uri Street Unite. Councillor Burns. Is that okay? To go ahead with what is on the right. And to have a site meeting. Okay, Chairman, item 41 is to approve the payment of outstanding monies due of £2,627.27 on the new EI scheme for the painting scheme. Chairman, somebody's got a and Chairman, there's one there that... Second. Chairman, there isn't, Chairman. We'll go back to 10. Have we got a second there for that? For 40? For 41. Chairman, and then, Chairman, there's been a late one in St John's Ambulance have asked council officials to identify a parking location for their vehicles. I was just going to put for us to work where we can.
Back to 10.
Back to 10, Chairman. I'm going to hand over to Brendan. Chairman, who's going to take 10. We missed it.
Chairman, this is a claim we had submitted to HMRC back in 2011. It relates to VAT on trade-based services, and they have now come back with an offer of £32,735.40, and we're recommending that the council accepts this offer.
Somebody just to propose a second, Chairman, we're getting the money back. Okay.
Carter, now that the formal business of the meeting is concluded, I encourage you I suppose we'll throw it open in a more informal way to the floor for comments on the conclusion of Newry District Council. Just for myself, it's been an honour and a privilege to represent this council as its first citizen for its last year. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable 9 months, and I just would like to take this opportunity to wish everybody in this room who's continuing on to the new council all the very best, and keep up the good work, some of you. And to all those who are retiring, well, I say retiring, myself and Connor, I'm sure, aren't retiring, the rest of you will very much be retiring. Lord Muffin. Discrimination.
We're suffering from ageism here, Mr. Chairman. Ageism. What?
But on a personal note, it's been very enjoyable working with each and every one of you, and I do genuinely wish you all the best in whatever personal endeavours you continue with into the future. Councillor Ram had indicated.
Yeah, I suppose it's unusual. Normally when the mayor comes to the end of his term, we can tell him what a good job he done because we're getting ready for the new incoming mayor, but that's not going to happen this year. But just on behalf of our own group, and Dara, we'd like to commend you for the year you've had in office. I agree with everything you said. You've carried that out to the best of your ability, and you've represented the district fantastically well. And just to say, I wish you well in the future, and I know you're going to a new post over in Brussels, and I have no doubt that you'll carry that through the same way you carried yourself in the last year in this council. And could I also say to all those councillors who are not going forward to the new council, I wish them all well from my own party and from all the other parties as well.
Well done, Mickey.
Yes, Chairman, I too would like to congratulate you. I don't usually congratulate in words. I certainly knew the ones that were there before you and what they were up to, so I didn't I couldn't. Anyway, Chairman, only a few words here. First of all, I'd like to thank the staff for all their help over the years here. The staff is excellent, and certainly the officials, I'd have to give them a bit of praise, but also would want to criticise them as well, some of the officials, because I have to pick out, believe it or not, down in Greenbank, Jim McCurry and Emma McManus, the two gentlemen, I have to say, and they always came back, no matter what you asked to be done, if it could be done, it was done. So I thank you, Emma, and I want you to take that down to you. Thank your staff for all the help, along with all your other officers. Now, it's only a few words here. I would like to thank David Taylor here and John Fagan, who worked very closely together. And John, you know, the other night I made a remark at a meeting, Cawdon, but it wasn't that. I had said that John had done no work in High Street, but I was only slagging you, John. I certainly. But well, that's the sad thing. I know you're a hard worker there for the people at Bestburg, along with David Taylor, and we always work very closely together. And I want to thank you and David Taylor for that, because we always do have to call on each other at times when we're working. The officials, as I said earlier, last year here we agreed the rates, and we were told by Mr. McCall and Robert Dowie and Miss I don't know if Eddie was up there or not. and the officials were up there in a row, and we were told that there was no money. John Fagan, I have to say, although I read the report last week where other people were claiming it for the work done around Bestburg, the new changing rooms and the new play area, a place where John Fagan fought very hard, but I read in the report where all the councillors were only into the place were claiming it. And I couldn't believe that.
By the reporter.
That's been known to happen.
I'll allow John Fagan to speak on himself. But anyway, we had 3 schemes in, and by Karen Bain changing rooms, and we were told there was no money. And I said to John Fagan, now, well, let Bestburg go, John.
Make a proposal on this.
No,
Put it through now.
No. So, Moffat, I took it there was no money, but you have spent 3 million of overspend since. And I have to tell you, that annoyed me. I watched during the year with 3 million overspend, and we couldn't supply changing rooms for the children of Karen Bain, from 5-year-old to 14-year-old to teenagers, plus older players. I think that was a disgrace when we're told there's no money and then to spend 3 million over.
How much do you need?
So, and I'll leave that to David Taylor to do, and John Aaron and the other councillors later on. They can look after it. But I have to say, that annoyed me when the way it was treated. So anyway, we can do nothing about that now. So I'd like to wish all the councillors all the best. And I always tried to raise the temper of councillors in this chamber. And the only man I couldn't raise was Mickey Ruan. We couldn't get him going at all. So we never found the depth of him. And we're leaving tonight and we don't know the depth of him. But I would wish you well, gentlemen and ladies, or ladies and gentlemen, and I know you have to be going and looking after the people of Fury and Mourne. I enjoyed my stay here over the years. And Eddie Cordes was always there to help us, although I do criticise him tonight for Karen Bain. So I wish you well, Eddie, and thank you for looking after us all down the years. I'll be busy now for the next 5 weeks. We'll be out knocking the doors. And I know that Geraldine is a very committed member of our party, but we'd be looking alone of the nationalist votes, Geraldine. Because we must get rid of these absentees and MPs. We need to get democracy going in Northern Ireland again. And because they're what good someone out looking to been to Westminster and they don't go. And we are doing the work for them. Because I can tell you in our office,
I can see Mickey Rion getting raised yet.
If there was a button pressed for everyone to come through the office door from South Armagh, then I ask you people to give us your support. Thank you.
Yeah, Chairman, can I also agree fully with what Councillor Muckle has said? Can I also thank all the staff from the top right down, and a man who's not here, a man by the name of Thomas McCall, who was very faithful to this council in my 22 or 3 years here. I don't never mind Thomas McCall not being able to attend a meeting in my time here. If it was, he was out of the country or he was ill, but I don't even mind him being very ill that he couldn't attend a meeting. And Eddie Curtis, Jim McCorry, right down John Farr, Liam McManus, and Liam Dinsmore is a fellow who I've been talking to regularly over my time here, because bins is a major issue when you're dealing with the constituents out in the general public. There's always seems to be problems with bins. And Liam was a very faithful operator for the council down at Greenbank. Just phone him up and he was on the ball and come back to you, I have to say. I enjoyed my time here, I have to say, and worked hard for the local people, and I'm sure the people who come behind me will work hard, if not as hard and maybe harder. And I'd just like to thank all the councillors for the time here. When I came into this council, the start things weren't that hot and good, I have to say. There was a lot of things happening out on the streets in the area, across the area, that we think we've got away from, and I hope we've got away from that. I would like to think that the people in this province and the people in this council area would be able to live together without going out and people slaughtering and murdering and mayhem and destruction. That's what it was like in this council when I came in here first, out on the streets. There was some very, very dastardly, hardly deeds done in this council area and across this province. And I wouldn't want to see that in the rest of my lifetime again. And I hope the young people of this area and this province can get on together, live together, work together for the betterment of the whole area, this council area and this province. Because, believe it or believe it not, I'm not a man that travels very far, but this province, I believe, is one of the best areas in this world. I would go across to Scotland. I'm not one for holidaying or any place foreign or nothing like that there, because I've never seen the need. And I think this wee province of ours is a great place to live, a great place to rear a family, and a great place for the young people of the area to grow up. And I would like to see that continue and long may it last. And as I say, thanks to all the officials for all their help, and thanks to Eddie Curtis over the last number of months. There was a lot of things had to happen very quickly, and I thank him for what he has done, and all the officials. Hilary, Sheila, right up the stairs, right across to London. Each office I would have been in and out of them, and I have to say I never was threw out or never was turned away from any door. If they could help you, they could help you, and if they couldn't, they would pass you on to somebody else. And once again, I'll say one thing, personally I'm not disappointed, but on behalf of my family, I would have liked to think that they could have seen the accolade. Every unionist politician I served with in this council was mayor or vice chairman of this council. It's not something I saw, but I was just disappointed that my family didn't see that happening over the time that I was here. But that's water under the bridge now. I'm not worried about it, but I just think that the family might have been something for the family to look back on. That's the only thing I would say. But I wish everybody the best, and I wish the new council all the best.
Here, here.
I suppose we could say that this is the end of the era, and this council, comes to its final close of the day. But when one door closes and another opens, and the new council will take power 1 minute past midnight on 31st of March. But I don't think we can go forward without, acknowledging the contribution of the outgoing councillors. And I'll talk first of all about my own party councillors. Pat McGinn, Turlock Murphy, Coleman Burns, Packy McDonald, Jimmy McCrish, who have gone now a number of months, even a year. And the councillors that are going now, Anthony, yourself, Dara, and Mickey has already praised you worthily enough. I can't say anything. And Mick Murphy, like myself, a former prisoner. But there's two councillors, and I know my party colleagues won't mind me singling out two councillors in particular. It's Councillor Jackie Patterson and Councillor Frank Feely. Now, Jackie Patterson, when it was difficult for an ex-prisoner to get a job, Jackie Patterson was on the interview panel. He was a council officer, and he ensured that I got a job in the council. Now, Jackie is unique in the fact that he was at the last meeting of the old council, he was at the first meeting of the new council in 1973, and now he's at the last meeting of this council before it disappears into the wilderness. And I acknowledge Jackie and the contribution that Jackie's made, and he's a Newry man like myself, but a hell of a nice guy, a good individual, and he would give you plenty of support. But I'd like to mention Frank Feely as well on that, Chair. And the reason why I think so much of Frank was a consummate politician. I can cast my mind back, Chair, it's 40 odd years ago when I was in Longcash, just shortly after born in Longcash. I was very badly injured, and I was in an outside hospital. And at that time there was very little information coming out about how prisoners were and what had actually happened. Now, my dad was alive at that stage. My dad was an SDLP supporter, and he asked Frank to try and investigate to see where I was, because no word after a fortnight after that particular incident, still no word of what was happening. And it was down to Frank's diligence, Chair, that he actually discovered that I was actually in the Mater Hospital, and where I remained for about 3 or 4 months. So I thank Frank for that, and our family appreciates and acknowledges the contribution Frank made at that time. So it's sad that guys like that are leaving now with so much experience, but the councillors that are taking over, and I look at my own colleagues around me here, some of the men and women that are going forward in the new council, they are experienced too, and they will do a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Casey. I suppose it is an apt moment to remember the great men and women who came and left this boardroom without so much as a word, and there have been some fantastic former councillors who sat in these chairs. Councillor Carr.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, and just like a whole lot of councillors around the table. But I, on behalf of the SDLP, want to wish a good wish, particularly to the outgoing councillors that won't be joining us in the new Super Council. I look particularly to my own colleagues along this bench, to Conor, Frank and the two Johns. And maybe a bit like Charlie was talking there was a major contribution for many, many years for a big number of people like Jackie, Andy, William, Mick, in fact, has been here for some time. So we do think about those people that have made a contribution and not going forward. Like you say yourself, there are people that we remember, that we recall, that have left us before now, and I can't help but think about the chap that I replaced way back in 2001, and that was Jim McCart, still going strong and still involved in a lot of boards about this district in Newry and Warrenpoint. I too would like to put on record the appreciation to Eddie, to his predecessors, particularly Thomas McCall. Kevin O'Neill had gone before I arrived, but Eddie has seen us out and will lead us into the new council. To all the directors who have been very helpful, to all the staff, And particularly in many ways, Hilary and Sheila for looking after the members' interests, and they do keep us informed. They do their best, anyway. Trying to keep 30 councillors on track is a bit like trying to keep 30 children on track sometimes. And I think at this time when we look back on councillors, I can't help but think of a chap come in as a councillor, as mayor after myself in 06. He became mayor in 07, 08, I think, Councillor Michael Cole. And out of all the councillors that I've served with, he's the only one that died in service, if you like. So I do think of Michael regular, and he was quite a character in this chamber. And we've had many characters, and I have enjoyed it in many ways. I've enjoyed the banter. It's good to know that, and the heart of it all. And I was listening to Charlie there, but the amount of respect that Charlie has, for example, Frank Feely, is heartening to hear as well tonight, I have to say. So go well, friends. I enjoyed the ceremony last week and opening the new swimming pool in Uri. I think it's a big achievement for this council. Bitterly disappointed it's located in the wrong place, but there you go. We did our best there, and maybe out of a new council we get a swimming pool in Warren Point. But I would like to thank everybody. I would like to thank everybody. Everybody around the table, and particularly yourself, Mayor, for the year that you've had. You've certainly put in a lot of effort, worked very hard, and been there on every occasion. Yourself and Brian, I think we're a good team, like was mentioned earlier, and we thank you for that contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Mayor. Mayor, first of all, well done on your year as Mayor. You held the office well. I congratulate you on that and wish you all the best in your future. I'm going to be very brief. I'm not going to name anyone beyond yourself now, but put on record my thanks and praise really to the employees of the council, because without them and without the unseen work that a lot of them do, this council wouldn't function, to be quite honest. The role of a councillor is a difficult one, but I have to say it was an enjoyable one for myself, 4 years. And it's the members around this boardroom that I enjoyed working with, both past and present, because a number have left even since I came in. And I just want to wish the councillors that are leaving, like myself, all the best for their future, whatever it may be. And a number of them, I think, deserve a rest from it all. And I hear Andy saying about 5 weeks of campaigning. Andy, I think you've done enough and you need a rest too, like all the rest, you know. But but I mean, Mr. Mayor, well, but in all seriousness, Mayor, a lot of people put a lot of work and a lot of effort into it, and sometimes we do have wee goes at each other within this chamber, and that's politics at the end of the day. But you go out through indoors and your friends and comrades of all sorts, and that's the way it is. So I wish the councillors leaving all the best. I also wish those going forward all the best, and I'd ask them to focus on job creation and tourism in particular, and help the businesses who are creating the jobs out there deliver more jobs and more prosperity for Newry, Mourne and Down. And I would have a stake in Down, given that's where I'm originally from, so I'd hope that you can do it right across the area and work together as best as possible. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Philip? Frank? Let's go
Listen to a lot of monologues and soliloquies, and I intend to do my own now, being that it's the last one. But then people are used to that. I would ask the council to send a letter of congratulations to the organising committee of the Drama Festival, because it was a huge success over a period of 7 or 8 days. Brought an awful lot of people into Newry, and they have great entertainment. There are first class players from all over the island. People that were never here before, as far away as Carlow and Cork, etc. Well, we're about to finish here after long and many years, and I would like first of all to thank the voters from all political persuasions that voted for me over the years, in ever decreasing numbers, I might add. But that's the way politics goes. The longer you're there, the more of your friends and voters die. I hope they're in a happier place.
Fantastic.
The less young ones you get to know, and the others, and sometimes they think you're an old man that shouldn't be there at all, and that you know nothing. That's because they never heard you saying anything, and they normally don't bother reading the press. But anyway, I would like to thank all those who remain faithful, and all those from the Unionist tradition who gave me a preference, 2 or 3. It was all very, very helpful. And of course, I often got a lot of those as number 3s from my good friend Jackie Patterson, who made a special habit of getting Unionist votes in large numbers. I'd like to thank them all and wish them all well in the future.
What? Tell us more, Andy.
Yeah. I'd also like to apologise to those people that I failed to solve their problems, didn't get round to it. I'm really sorry. Also to anyone I offended on the council, either councillors, which are members of the staff, which I sometimes did because I at times could become abrasive when things went the wrong way, when political debate got very hot. And but I didn't mean any harm by it. It was just I don't keep any malice, because it's just a passing phase. That's the way politics works. It's not calm all the time and can't be. The most iconic movement I was ever involved in my lifetime was the Civil Rights Committee, the Civil Rights Movement in Northern Ireland, and that happened in every country that I knew, because people do not give up power easily. It has to be taken from them. They have to be made to share it. And sooner or later, after a number of campaigns, we did overcome. The people got the vote. Every person had got a vote, and political power soon followed. And that was very good. We learned power share over the years with unionism and with everybody else through time, and I think that's a very excellent development for Northern Ireland, and I hope that it will long continue into the future. After that came the Troubles, the bomb and the bullet reduced Newry to ashes, and but again, there was a lot of different organisations involved in the Troubles, and a lot of people suffered very badly. But things continue to change. Politics never stands still. History doesn't stand still, and never will. And that led to the Good Friday Agreement and to the peace settlement, which I was very lucky to be a member of, being voted in as a delegate to the Good Friday Agreement, and it was the most historical moment in my life when that was signed, and the most historical moment that I witnessed in the long history of Northern Ireland, and the most important because it instituted power sharing on a very firm basis, and I think that will last as well. The only thing we need to look out for is to make sure that we get equality and justice, because that doesn't always happen. While these things are written into the Constitution, many ministers are able to sidestep them, unfortunately. So you want to be always vigilant and fight for your rights, because you will not get them unless you fight for them. City status was the next thing. At the time, Sinn Féin refused to have anything to do with meeting the Queen or looking for city status. Now, of course, they get royal pardons and they dine on the best food in Bookhouse, and that's a very good development. And I imagine that in the not too distant future you'll see them voting in the House of Commons, and that too will be welcome, because they might make a difference to the way to whoever is in power after the next election. But I certainly enjoyed the campaign for city status, and in that sense I would like to thank Fergal McCormick and Gerard O'Hare, who backed it and supported it with some finance and organised it, and all the rest of the people who are too numerous to mention at this stage. It was total cross-community organisation, and it worked very well. And the Queen was very nice, very easy to talk to. So the result was that I became first mayor, and the people just about elected me. They didn't hold a grudge against me for meeting Her Majesty, and I was happy about that, because I had worked in England for many years as a young fellow, and my father and all belonging to me worked there and might well have starved, only for they were able to go there on a Friday and start work on a Monday without any questions being asked. And I think that half of Connacht, maybe 2/3 of it, did so over the hungry 30s, 40s and 50s and into the 60s. Many do still today, but the ones that go today are highly educated, and all of them contribute greatly to the growth of Britain. Building roads, mining coal, all sorts of things. And the ones that go today do so at a much higher level, and that's progress. As I say, I enjoyed my year as mayor, and as a blow-in, I consider it a privilege to lead the Patrick's Day parade around Newry. I was very happy with that, and because it doesn't always happen when you go to a new place that you make so many friends and that you're given the privilege of leading a parade around their city. I also was very lucky that I was near Armagh won the All-Ireland, and I was able to officiate at that, and it was an incredible weekend. That Saturday in Dublin was unbelievable, particularly Saturday night. I think I got to bed about 6:30 or 7 in the morning, but I don't actually remember too much about it, except that early on there was great sing-songs and so on in the hotel, and great celebrations, and that I was still here to officiate at the official banquet in their honour, and to give awards to the management and others at a later date. So all in all, I had a very, very successful year. I have made many friends over the years here in the council, and I think that happens with most councillors. When you work so closely with people in site meetings and other things, you get to know them very, very well. And I certainly got to know a lot of the opposition. I became very friendly, as you all know. My best friend would be Councillor Patterson, I would imagine. There's no doubt about that, apart from members of my own party. And including some members of my own party, as well as Councillor Moffat, who is a personal friend of mine, I regard him as, and many others in Sinn Féin as well. Councillor Casey, I thank him very much for his kind remarks. I I was elected to the Assembly at the time, and I was inundated with people who couldn't find their loved ones because the Army or the RUC weren't giving any advice on where they were or any information, and I was constantly on the private office and leading people out to the Army barracks in Westbrook to find out where people had gone and what was happening and why some people were being punished so badly and being so ill-treated. So I did work exceptionally hard during those years, but I believe it was very much worthwhile, and I'm glad I did it, and I'm also glad that I survived those years. They were very difficult for me, politically and every other way, but then other people had worse luck. Many decent people were injured and killed, and we'll have to remember them, and that's another problem that will have to be solved in the near future, or else there'll be no real peace here in Northern Ireland. During those years, I also tried to work very hard and wrote a lot on community relations, and I'm glad to say that this council received several awards for their efforts in community relations, and I remain true to that ideal to this day. I think that's our job, and that's very much part of our job. And as I say, on all council side, I made a lot of friends as well with Councillor Flynn and Councillor Murphy, of course, personal friend, gentleman, and I hope to see him again at some race meeting or in a pub or somewhere like that. He's a very interesting fellow, and we get on quite well. Also, Councillor Harty, the older councillors, I don't know the new ones. Age is a bit of a barrier, but I know some of the women all right.
But you always like the women.
They're very good-looking girls there, so you couldn't miss them really, like, because I went to Specsavers to make sure I could see them. And so as I say, I'm glad to see that there is much better community relations, and I hope that the new council will continue that, and I believe that they will. I believe there's an awful lot of goodwill now in this council, and a lot of people sometimes will complain that nothing was done in this council or anywhere else in Northern Ireland, but that's not true. There's a huge difference in the Newry that I see today and the Newry that I knew 30 years ago, and long may it continue. It's a much more prosperous place today. There's much more employment, there's more work. Of course, there's a lot of things to be done. One time, Mr. Powell was MP for South Down until the day Eddie McGrady got rid of him. And he said all politicians life end in failure. That's not right. Most politicians do a lot of successful work for people on the ground as well as on major issues. And I concentrated on a lot of those, on getting better roads, especially the road to the border, which I once always described as a dirt track, and I was right. Houses, and employment, and in that regard I was lucky that I met Martin Naughton one day at a folk night in Mark McLaughlin's in Dundalk, and he asked me, was there any grant school for starting an electrical factory? I said yes. I said Ledger has just been set up. I brought him down here and went to the first 4 or 5 meetings with him, got him a factory and 2 workers, and so today he's one of the major employers in this area. Also, freezer mates, I started that up from scratch, and I gave Eddie High, who was difficult to advise because he knew a lot of things about money, the sort of grants that were available, and got him his first chemist, whom he had for at least 5 years part-time during the weekends and in the evenings. That was the late Mick Bray. He was a very good musician himself, actually. But as I say, it's a much more prosperous place today than it was this council and its management did great work, I think. And we have now only 8 to 10% unemployment instead of 40%. And that is a tremendous advancement for people rearing families who continue to work hard, and I wish them well. I also like to thank all the past chief executives, Kevin O'Neill, Mr. McCall, Eddie Curtis, who did, I suppose, most for me most of the time in the last year, and also all the other directors, John there, who's a rock solid individual and always gets back to you if you make any complaint or suggestion even that something could be improved. Also, Mr. McManus, whom I once taught and was a very bright pupil, and he still is very bright and does a brilliant job in this council because of the detail he has of everything that works. Also all the committee girls and all the staff who work so hard in trying to keep us all happy by trying to interpret what we mean sometimes and what we say and to get a record of it. So I'd like to thank them all. And say, as I say, that all political lives come to an end at some stage. I had a very good innings. We all, I think, in our day achieved quite a bit. And we go into retirement knowing that we at least tried to make a difference. And I wish you all the very best in the future and hope you're the new council every success. Thank
you. John Finn.
Thanks very much, Mayor. Delighted to follow Frank. It's like big old following Billy Connolly.
Well done.
First of all, can I congratulate you, Mayor, on your year, and Councillor Quinn, Deputy Mayor, on his year. And you've worked very hard, both of you. And can I wish you luck on your new post in Brussels, wherever that takes you. I wish you well. I just want to thank, I'm not going to go through any names, I want just to thank all of the directors and officers for all their help over the best part of 16 years, and to the staff as well. We have an excellent staff, I think, here in Newry, none better. I was co-opted here in 1999, and I've had 3 elections since that, and my vote continued to rise each time, which is always a good sign. And I just want to thank all those who voted for me over those 3 elections. I thank them for their vote and for their support. I want to thank our previous councillors in the Fuse, Councillor Pat McGinn, Councillor Jimmy McCrish, and Councillor Danny Kennedy, who are not here anymore, but and to Councillor Moffat and to Councillor Taylor. We've worked very well, all of us, over the years. I don't think I can't even remember a cross word actually with any of them. And I want to thank Councillor Pat Toner, who was a great help to me when I came on to council first. Pat was an excellent councillor, an excellent man and gentleman. And I just want to wish the new council good luck and everything that they do in their endeavours. So best luck to all of you, and the best luck to all those who are on their way out. Thank you very much, sir.
Short and sweet. Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. Can I thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Brian, for the excellent contribution you made to our community in the last 9 months. I've been 14 years in council, and it's been a fantastic privilege. It's been a fantastic privilege to serve all of the community, and I did that with great joy. I enjoyed an awful lot of that. And even meeting some people who had difficulty maybe in articulating something. And if you did something small, it may have been small to you, but to them it was very, very big. And that was a great privilege. I had the great privilege of working for people, particularly regarding DLA and incapacity benefit tribunals, and that was a privilege. Can I thank Thomas McCall in particular, and Eddie, and Eamon, and all of the directors, and John. They were excellent to deal with. It was really a privilege to talk to them. And any time you went to them, I don't think I ever got a negative answer. It might have been done today, but it was done, whatever I needed done for a constituent was done. As I said, it was a great privilege for 14 years to serve the people. And we got to many, many places. I got to meet some marvellous people. I got to America, I got to Russia and that. Again, it was a great privilege. And you were always, when you were on business, you were a representative. You were an ambassador for our council. And that was excellent. I leave the council with many friends and no enemies. And I think politics is all about, what's it all about? It's all about doing things, getting things done for people. I look on life as a book, and in a book you start off, there are many different paragraphs, so you open one paragraph and you close it and you go to the next. So I look on tonight as the closure of a paragraph, and the paragraph was working for 14 years in Uri Mourne Council. Can I also thank in particular Sheila and Hilary, Ashleen and Brenda, and not forgetting Louise, and all of the council clerical people. They were excellent. I don't think I ever had wrong words with anyone working for council. As I say, can I also thank the press? Sometimes we have a go at the press and they have a go at us, and this is what democracy is all about. But they have done a tremendous job, and also in particular, can I thank the voters who voted for me 3 elections in a row. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the whole campaign, and I'm looking seriously forward to this campaign for the election of our candidate, Justin McAnulty. Thanks very much, Mr. Chairman.
Henry, going to give us a party election broadcast?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As Councillor Moffat did indicate, we don't normally congratulate Sinn Féin mayors, but given that you were not part of the Totem Comp division, I will recognise that you did do significant work, and you did try to make your contribution to community relations. But I would respectfully remind you, as your colleague said earlier, that UKIP is going to get the UK out of Brussels, so don't get too comfortable over it.
I'm over there with an Irish.
Chairman, I have mixed memories of this chamber. I started here in 1989 as a 29-year-old, and it was a new experience. And the thing I very quickly learned is that politics and being a councillor, it's like being a tradesman. You can't just rush in and know everything. You have to learn, you have to watch others, you have to try and, before you can understand the nuances of politics and how things work in the system. And thankfully my vote over the years has grown, and I'm very grateful to the people that have voted for me. The thing that Frank Feely and Councillor William Burns and others have pointed out was the terrible situations that existed in here at that time, out on the streets. And I can still clearly remember sitting in this chamber with bombs going off, the noise of bombs going off, the clatter of sirens, helicopter activity, and then the news would filter in here that there was a policeman killed or a soldier being blown up, and it was dreadful times. And whenever you think that those people were out there working to make sure that we were able to come in here and say what we thought and to express our views, I think that we do owe the people who maintained this democracy, we owe them a great sense of gratitude, and certainly I will never forget them. And Councillor Kern said in here the other night about how hard it was to be a Sinn Féin councillor. I can assure you that for unionist councillors to come into this chamber during those very, very difficult years, it could have been actually a frightening experience. And I think of Andy Moffat, Lockhart, Councillor Lockhart, George Graham, Billy Russells, all those guys who came in here. And there was many, many nights, ladies and gentlemen, our colleagues, whenever I was afraid to come in here. I'll clearly admit that. Whenever the police had lifted the phone and said, "Bury your route into the chamber, your names come up," whatever, that was scary, to think that somebody wanted to kill you. That was actually scary. And Chairman, I really hope that when the history of border politics is written, that it will be recorded that people like me and William Burns and Andy Muffet and the rest, we put our love of country and our dedication to serve our people before the fear of the assassin's gun, Chairman. And I can tell you that wasn't easy coming into Newry Town Centre in those days. Andy Muffet went through far more during the hunger strikes and everything else. But Chairman, that's the bad side. The good side is, Chairman, we have some remarkably brilliant experiences in this chamber over the years. And the funny thing is, I think of Michael Cole. And Michael Cole and I actually developed a very, very close friendship when we could work in here. And people never knew really what we were getting up to at times. But we could work moves to benefit the Mourne community, and both sides of the community benefited. Emmett Hockey, and before him, some of the most hard nights for arguing in this chamber was between myself and Emmett Hockey. But there was always a lighter side to it also. And many a night I would go home and I would be up in bed and I would snicker to myself about something that had been said. And Sonia would be saying, "What's wrong? What are you laughing at?" And it would be something that maybe some of the councillors had said. Councillor Graham, George Graham, used to be a very, very good man at breaking tense situations with some remark. Chairman, I would like to thank Louise and all the committee clerks. I know all the staff from Eamon, Eddie, John, Farrell, all the staff over the years have been more than good to me. And sometimes I've lost my tempers and they could have said, "Clear off, Riley, we're not dealing with you," but you've never once done it on me. So I really do thank you for that over the years. And again, but what it comes down to, what the people that I always relied on most in this chamber weren't the big high-flying directors. They were the likes of Louise, our committee clerks, Colette McAteer, Margaret Morrow, people like that. And I have to mention Catherine Carville, who serviced the Mournes area for 10 years and was one of the most outstanding public servants I've ever met in terms of her efficiency and whatever. So I think that we really do need to acknowledge the fantastic role that people like Louise have done for us over the years. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget this council, and the good times, I think, actually outweigh the bad times. And we've achieved a lot for Mourne, the swimming pools and play parks and a lot of things that other areas still hold envious of. But the one thing Councillor Burns pointed out was the fact that he'd never been mayor. And I think, Chairman, that is one of the saddest points that I can think of. Because I was the last unionist mayor of this chamber, a year that I very much involved, and my family did involve, as Williams pointed out. But after that year, the hunt kicked in, and there will never be a unionist mayor again. That is the terrible tragedy. If the hunt hadn't kicked in, William would undoubtedly have been mayor because he's a very able councillor. And now with the new super council, we know 20 years in advance there's never going to be a unionist mayor. So it's very, very difficult to have to accept that, but that's the way the new democracy works in this country. But Chairman, thank you very much, and I wish you well in your exploits abroad. But as I say, don't get too comfy because UKIP's going to get you out of there.
Great job. Yeah. Thanks, Mark. First of all, could I congratulate you on your excellent year, and for someone so young to come in and not be so long in the council, and your performance, and admired how you handle things. And even on Saturday at the speaking to almost 10,000 people, I'm sure it was a great experience for you. And to your deputy, who I think was carried out his duties, was a perfect gentleman in this chamber. So, do you want me to give you the 51 years that I'm in the council, or do you want me to? We'll give you a shortened version. First of all, I want to thank Charlie for his kind remarks, and I have to say that over the years, when I came into the council as an officer in 1964 into the town hall, and then went on to scene, and Charlie has pointed out that at the very last meeting of the Old Urban Council in 1973, I was there, and I was here the night of the very first meeting of Newry Mourne, and sadly I'm here the night for the last meeting. But it's been, as Councillor Feely has pointed out, it's been a real experience. Seeing both sides of the whole situation, being an officer and being being a councillor, and I want to thank the voters who elected me on great numbers over the 5 or 6 terms that I stood. And I think it was a great privilege for me being a mayor, but particularly being an independent. To be an independent, I think I'd probably be the only independent mayor that there ever was or will be. And because if you're an independent and being elected a mayor, it means that everyone in this council chamber on that night, from all parties and none, supported me. And I think that was a great privilege, and that's why I worked so hard through that year because of that. Some of the things that happened over the last few years, in the later years at the council, has been a great pleasure to me, particularly on Friday to see the swimming pool. I think it was an excellent scheme, and I hope, as Michael says, I hope there is a pool in Mournepoint, because I know that Councillor Carr over the years has fought to get the pool, and at one stage when there was a chance that we might have got built in the pool in another site, I suggested to Michael that maybe if we looked at the big wood at Mournepoint Road there, that would have been an excellent idea, because it would have been on the edge of the Crosslands area and the Newry area. But that didn't come into fruition. But hopefully in the years to come that the new council will see that. I'd have great memories over the years. I've made great friends, particularly the social occasions. It's absolutely brilliant with all the councillors and the public. And when you think of the community, the people, the community, there's some here tonight, James McAreevy and Noreen Rice, all those people that contributed to enhance what's great in this whole area, and still are involved on a voluntary basis. And I hope maybe through the years that whatever years I have left, that I would get involved with some of them, because I think it's a great honour to be able to do that, and I want to congratulate them on what they do. I want to thank all the staff, John and Eddie and Eamon here tonight, and Jim McCurry and Tom McCall, all those people that was there through the years. As John McCardle has said, that always open, your door was open to him for advice and whatever they could do for you. Over those years, as I said, I had many happy memories, and I worked, been an officer in the council, and I see Breach here in Hillary, and they were working colleagues with mine, and then that continued into my term then as a councillor. So that friendship continued, and I hope that stays that way. There's just one or two things I'd like to mention, and for by the swimming pool was the public realm schemes. And I think that's absolutely a brilliant scheme, and I see now that the Greenway is going to continue the scheme down from the quays down to the Victoria Locks. And I think one of the other things I'm very proud of, and I want to pay a tribute to, in particular, the two groups. First of all, the McParnan brothers, who through all those troubles put their money where their mouths were, and invested in, to my opinion, the best hotel in Ireland, and the same staff and the staff that's there over the years, and to the directors of Forced Derivatives, who brought high employment to this area, along with Gerard O'Hare and the likes of them. I think it was brilliant to keep all those sorts of things that was positive about Newry. And just one concern that I have, that I read an article last week where the councillors were reduced by 150 odd councillors were reduced, and the cost of the new councillors by 153 less is costing more now than what the original councillors have cost to date, and it's not even there a year yet. And why I'm saying this is that the RPA was voiced on the people. The people never wanted it, never asked for it, and I think down the line it's going to. I'm informing now, as the media does. The councillors here to inform, and I think they need to get prepared, because I think down the line the ratepayers is going to pay a heavy price for reorganisation. I don't think it'll be the success that they think it will be, because if you look at some of the things that's happening, they've paid out millions already for directors severance pay, for councillors severance pay, and for a number of chief officers throughout the area. And I guarantee you, you can mark my words, I guarantee you that a year, my experience from the last changeover, 43 years ago, that down the line there'll be advertising for to bring some of those people back and say, look, we need the staff. It's not working out with the short staff that we have, and you can. That's when it'll kick in, and we'll be paying a lot of money. Those are just a couple of negative things I want to put in. I want to thank the press. The press, I think, for the information that they have given over the years in covering council meetings, and given the public the information that they need and that they deserve. Once again, to all my colleagues here around the table, every single one, I never had words with any councillor in this chamber from the day I come in, and I had the highest respect for them, and they give me that respect, and I want to thank them for that, and wish everyone the very best of luck, and the new council. Thanks.
You've done a great job as mayor past year. Congratulate you on it. I know it is a tough job you've done because I've experienced it at first hand. So, and I have no doubt about it. I know that you're heading to Brussels and you'll do a major job there as well. So keep a good work up. As for leaving the council, I wish you, council, all the best and hope things go well for you. For myself, leaving the council, I have good memories and bad memories. Remember, when I was first elected, I met Raymond McCreasy's father, and he says to me, congratulating me on being elected onto the council. He says, I'm going to give you a bit of advice, Mick. He says, when you go into the council, stick by your principles. But he says, don't insult people by doing it. Do it in a manner that is needed. I'll always remember that. I can't say for this council that the same was done to Councillor McCreasy's son, but that's nowadays work. So, on behalf of myself, on behalf of my party, on behalf of my colleagues on the party, I wish them all the best. I wish everybody all the best. And God made them out.
Thanks, Chair. And like everybody else, just want to congratulate you on a brilliant and excellent year's work. You were a credit, both yourself and Brian were a credit to the community here. It's a strange night, this, because this is the end of an era, and we're leaving some 10 councillors behind us. But I think, as you've gauged from the contributions so far, the vast majority of people here liked working here on this council, enjoyed working on this council, enjoyed working for constituents and for people who came with problems. And I think that was reflected in all the councillors who are going. They were all very hard working. They all represented their communities to their best of their ability. And remember, councillors did have only limited powers. Sometimes we boasted about the powers we had, but we had very, very limited powers, and there was only certain things that we could get done, but we did it to the best of our ability. I'm just going to talk about the 3 Newry councillors who are going, because I obviously know all the councillors, but I know them probably the best. John McCardle really has an excellent record on what he knew best, and that was what was happening on Daisy Hill. Unfortunately, a lot of what John has predicted and projected is coming through. No matter many maybe marches we hold or many rallies we have, sometimes decisions are being made outside of our particular orbit. But we'll have to keep on trying. And John has been brilliant, I think, at advancing the cause for Daisy Hill and putting that project forward. And I wish to thank him for all the work that he has done in that scheme. Jackie Patterson here beside me, alluded to the fact that as an independent, it's a very difficult job because you don't have the backing of the party, you don't have the finances, you don't have the full-time staff that the established parties have. And I've known that when I came back in this chamber as an independent. So I think Jackie's a very consummate politician. I know in the background that he worked hard to become mayor of the council, and he had to go through a number of meetings, etc., with people to ensure that happened. And fair play, he did it. And it showed that he was a politician who was able to do those sort of things. I was just thinking, funny enough, on that one about John. John, when he first entered into elected politics, talking about Thomas McCall, John met him up at the Blessing of the Graves one day, and it was just prior to an election, a local government election. And John went over to Thomas McCall and said, Thomas, I hope now I can rely on you for a vote. I hope you're going to give me a vote. And Thomas said right away, no, there's no way, no. And John was very, very disappointed because he thought Thomas was a good friend of his. And he says, again, John, I'm pleading you, will you not give me a vote, even a preference? He says, no. He says, why not? He says, because I live in Crotleave. Which is a true story, John, isn't it? Yeah. Frank, I also got to know, because don't want to be giving away Frank's age or anything, but Frank started dating an aunt of mine way back in the early 60s, and tried very hard to get the ring on her finger, I think, but didn't succeed. That was one of the things he didn't succeed at. But he also had him at St. Coleman's for 7 years as a history teacher, and I have to say, Frank's A-level class, I think half of the class all got A's in their A-levels or got B's. Anyhow, top grades, and this reflects again how good a teacher Frank was, that he was able to get those brilliant grades. We had a bit of an issue with him over that, and because of the time, this is in the early 70s, Frank taught us English history or British history, and we wanted to be taught Irish history. We wanted, what's wrong with Irish history? We're Irish people, we need to have our own history. And Frank said, sure, but then they would know who you are then. You were sorry. Well done. But hey, listen, I wish them all, and all the other councillors, all the very best. You have made a major contribution to life in this town and area, and you deserve absolute credit for that. Thank you.
First of all, can I thank the Mayor? He had a terrific year, and when you go to Brussels, will you remember to send me an invitation? I'll be available for weekends in Brussels, because I like to get away. So I want to thank all the staff of the council, and they're always very helpful to me. The two boys out here, Martin and Kevin, who nobody mentioned, who looked after us for tea and sandwiches and all that. And I want to wish everybody in the new council all the best. And my colleagues who are all retiring, have a good retirement. I won't be retiring, it just means I have more time to spend in the community and no meetings to go to. So all the best to everybody.
For a half minute. 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Okay. First, I want to congratulate you on an excellent year, and also on your patience and the fact that you give everybody a good chance, and especially myself at times, if I had a lot to say. I'd also like to thank the press, and in particular your reporter, for carrying on a special campaign to save Daisy Hill. All of them did very well in the last few weeks, and the reporter, as I say, worked particularly hard and gave a lot of the press to try and save the hospital, and I hope the next council will just do that. I'd also like to thank my own colleagues, I forgot about them, Geraldine and all the rest of them who are my personal friends over the years. Councillor Carr, who puts up with me from when I'm late and all sorts of other occasions, when I'm causing trouble maybe. Also John Feehan, who I regard as a very hard-working councillor, did great work in that area, and I was glad to see another councillor elected in his place. I never met a man with a better sense of humour than John Fahey. He's a little shy, but he has a fantastic sense of humour, incredible stories. Also John McCarroll, who worked, as we know, exceptionally hard as a constituency worker and and on Daisy Hill. He got all the facts originally and got me interested in it, and I took it up just to help him. Also, Councillor Burns there, whom I had many good conversations with, and hopefully will in the future. I forgot to say it to him. And Councillor Riley, who is a bit of a genius, but is a very able man, but sometimes can cause a storm in a teacup very quickly, a political storm. And when he gets over that, he's a good councillor, and I hope that they all continue to work together in the future. Anybody I left out, I didn't mean to, but...
Conor.
Oh, yeah, Conor. Just finally, Conor McGreevy. I think we'll hear more of him in the future. He has plenty to say, and as he grows older, he'll say it more exactly and more carefully.
Councillor Taylor had indicated now.
Councillor John Fahey was a very impressive councillor. He passed away at an early age. I think you should acknowledge that.
Here.
David, sorry.
Sure, I'll keep my remarks brief. Thank God for getting on. I don't suppose I was going to say now, to be honest with you, but anyway. I want to offer my best wishes to you, Mayor, as you your new role in Brussels. I want to offer my best wishes also to all those councillors that are leaving here tonight. I've certainly seen in the last number of years since I've become a councillor, being a politician isn't an easy job, and we are open to criticism on a regular basis, but I know that all the people that serve in this council do so with a passion. They do have a passion for the job that they do, and we do honestly try to serve the people as the best we can. We don't always get everything that we want, but we certainly do our best to deliver what we can for the people of this district. I want to pay a particular tribute to my colleague Andy Moffat. Andy has been a stalwart of unionism for nearly 4 decades in this area, and served the people of this area during very difficult times, particularly when the minority Protestant community in South Armagh were taking the brunt of the troubles in the area. But anyway, Andy served all the people of this area with a plume and with graciousness over the last 30 odd years. And I know that he's a very close friend of my family and has guided me well, and has always been there to offer me advice when I've needed it since I've assumed my role as a councillor. And in fact, I was on the phone one day to a man about an issue, and as the discussion went on, he says, "You know, we're going to tell you, young Taylor," he says, "you're sounding like Moffat more every day." He says, "You're spending far too much time with him." But anyway, I know that Andy Moffat won't be leaving politics. He may not be in elected politics any longer, but he certainly won't be leaving politics. And you never know, he may get that position in the Lords he's been promised. But anyway, I wish everyone well, and the staff, directors, everyone involved with the council, I wish you all well. And as many of us go forward into the new council, that we certainly do face many challenges, but again, I certainly will endeavour to deliver all I can to the people of this area. But again, I wish everyone well and hope you all have a safe home.
Well done,
Burns is going to come in briefly, then Councillor Quinn, and then John Farrell next up yours, and City Wayne Curtis, and then we'll call it that. So
Just two sentences. I was in this council 3 weeks when a certain councillor tapped me on the shoulder, and he says, "Well done, young Burns, you think you're going to move the world." But he says, "Never forget," and he lifted his hand, he pointed, and he ran across the tap table. He says, "Them's the boys that run the show." And that was the late Eugene Markey. I have to say, he was one of the wittiest councillors ever I sat beside in this chamber. And the last comment is, and another man said, "We haven't gone away, you know."
Yes, like the other councillors, I would like to wish you all the best from Brussels. And to thank you, you were quite generous with me over the past year with the events and functions I was able to officiate on your behalf. And just to wish yourself all the best, and all of the councillors who are retiring and stepping down. I want to wish you all the very best for that. And William, just if there's any issues, you know, I'll still be there for you. Thank you, Mayor.
Chair, and I will keep this brief because
because I'm conscious there's hot food out there and but it wouldn't do if the final act of your chief environmental health officer was to poison the house. It wouldn't look well. Sure, as you know, as tomorrow I'm stepping down as a director, and although I'm not leaving immediately, I certainly want to place on record my sincere thanks to my management colleagues of Thomas and Eddie and Jim and Gerard and Robert and to you members for the privilege of working in Newry and Mourne District Council, and to the loyalty that you've shown to me and to my department. As I said, I'm nearly 35 years here working for the council. You as elected members and all my colleagues that I work with, I consider friends, and I hope that will continue, and I thank you for that opportunity and that privilege. Thank you.
Chairman, it's just a word of thanks from myself. I walked in through that door on the 2nd of July 1984, and I've had the honour of serving with 31 of the mayors of this council, which is an awful lot. Can I pay a particular thanks to Dara and to Brian for the last 9 months. They've done a fabulous job and have been very easy to work with. However, I'd also ask you to have in your thoughts those who are not here. There's a number of elected members, there's a number of staff who are not here, and I was speaking with some of their families and the sadness they have knowing that the council will finish on the 31st of March. I think that you as a council should be very proud. You've set the standards, you've had the highest spend in Interreg, Leader, European fundings like Peace 3, etc. And you've brought an awful lot of work in the area. For you as a council, you're currently providing jobs for 550 staff, taking somewhere close to £15 million into the local area every single year. And I think without that money, a lot of the businesses would be suffering significantly. The council should also be proud of all of the schemes that you've done, the EI schemes that you've done in both the Point, Newry, Indicalkeel, etc. have been absolutely superb. The parks that you have supplied, Kilbrony Park with the mountain bike rides in and out is the envy of all of Ireland, if not of all of the world at the moment, as it's seen as the #1 spot. You've got the parks and not along Slieve Gullion, which we opened up again recently with the new, excuse me, Chairman, with all of the walks that are in it, has been a marvellous scheme. Can I say my thanks as well, just finally, to the retiring councillors. You will be missed badly, and I wish the best to all of the councillors who are staying on for the Super Council. And finally, for me, can I thank the management team? They've been absolutely superb for me over this past number of months, and I wish the best to all of the staff, because the opportunities that they're going to have for the future will be massive, and I hope they will be successful. So, thank you very much, Chairman.
Sinné, a card gur míle míle agah go léir agus díháid.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.